Alright, are we okay? Are we doing it? Audio looks fine. Apparently this is as close as I can get the mic to my face, because the desk is a mess of wires right now. It's stupid how much stuff you need to stream and hook something up to the stream. But hopefully everything's running. And hopefully the internet's holding. That's the only reason I put this impromptu stream together, is because all of a sudden I messed around with the router and I checked around. And it was like, oh, you have decent internet for once. Like, your upload speed is not 0. I said, my gosh, I have to put something together now. So it's been the last 20 minutes or something that I've been trying to get all the gear together, get it working, and we're here. Who knows? It might die quickly. Says I'm getting a decent bit rate relative to my usual stuff, so that's cool. And yeah, we're here. We're doing it. I needed to kill some time because I ordered my copy of new Zelda game from Amazon, and they do deliver it on the day it comes out, but they don't deliver it like right away. They deliver it whenever they feel like delivering it. So I've just been killing time all day. I haven't had a lot of work. I've just been hanging out, doing things around here, working on the next video as well, which has been interesting. And is my... Let me check to see if the iPad screen is actually updating, because it doesn't look like it is at all. No, it's definitely not. So I'll have to restart that or something. Let's see. Let's see how that goes. Anyway, if anyone's here right now, welcome. Welcome to the stream. I'm sorry I've been away for so long. Like I said, it's been technical issues that I just have no power to resolve. So yeah, that's been the big sticking point for, what, months now? It's been quite a while, I think. But we made it through Friday. I'm pretty happy about that. I'm enjoying a nice, tasty beverage. And, yeah, I guess I'm just going to draw for a while or something. As I learned during a previous stream, the most recent attempt at a stream, I just can't... Even the game you pick has an impact on bitrate. So if you choose something like action-packed and fast-moving, doesn't work. It works even less than before. So yeah. So today I'm just gonna play around with some drawing stuff, with some art stuff. I could show you a little bit here because the other day I've been wanting to work on a new animation project with a friend, and it's a lot of unfamiliar waters for me, because I've never actually done full-blown character animation, as in drawing on model, you know, and then hitting on 4s, on 2s, etc. I've never done basic walk cycles or anything like that. So last night, this was my little mess-around attempt at doing some really basic character animation stuff. Sorry, let me get my face out of the way somewhere. But yeah, this is my super basic, like, okay, we'll do a little bit of squash and stretch. And obviously there's some things happening here with the timing. I wanted it to linger over this little jump, which is what it became. But yeah, even something as simple as this took quite a while. And as you can tell from the line work here, I'm not really drawing on model every single time. So... it's definitely a thing. It's definitely a thing with its own challenges. But it is fun to work out, and it's fun when even a short little clip like this feels kind of cohesive, and it actually feels like the movement makes sense. And another thing that I had tried here very briefly is this little tiny test where the only goal was to try to give a sense of movement, and this is something you see especially... Sorry, the music's a little too loud. This is something you see especially in a lot of anime stuff, is... I guess it's kind of a charcoal line that they'll use sometimes around the edges of the frame. But even if the character in the center of frame doesn't appear to be changing all that much. You get the sense of movement from just those fluctuating charcoal lines along the edges. So I was just trying to mess around with that in a very basic way. The background stuff here is completely random, just doing different strokes and stuff there. But you still kind of get a sense, especially based on this goofy bird design or whatever it is, that it's moving, that there's actually something happening in the frame as opposed to just random background imagery. Anyway, so that's just stuff I was messing around with recently. I don't know, should I do any animation right now? I don't know. I'm kind of in the mood to just draw some stuff. So let's see what we get. Definitely up the size. Sort of a continuation of something I've been doing for a while, I guess, which is characters that are just very squishy, rounded shapes. Like this. In fact, maybe you can see way in the background there. Kind of the same idea on that painting that I've been working on for a little while. But yeah, very basic. But still allows me to feel like I can add some narrative to the image if I want to. And very easy to turn them into something that resembles a living creature just by giving them eyes. That's something I've talked about in previous streams. It's my cheat code, and it's definitely not exclusively my cheat code. If you want a bunch of random shapes to look like a character, just give it very basic facial features. Eyes at the bare minimum, maybe a mouth, and that's more than enough usually to give a sense that it's a character and not just a blob of random shapes and stuff. But yeah, super easy, and for me, kind of still interesting to mess around with. This guy goes like this. Okay. I definitely need some kind of background here. Too much saturation, etc. No, that kind of distracts from the subject. Whatever, work with that for now. Anyway, I hope everybody's been doing pretty well. I've been hard at work on the next set of videos, and something nice but also kind of expected about the series of videos about 70s animation stuff has been that it's gotten me more engaged into the editing side of things. Once again, I used to kind of care a lot more about the editing of videos for whatever reason. And I think because of the lack of face cam stuff in my earlier videos, I was forced to try to think of creative solutions for things, and try to come up with different visuals that I could, show to actually try to keep people's attention. Whether or not those fixes and choices were successful is another question. But I definitely enjoyed that aspect of it, of trying to come up with non-traditional videos that would still kind of work and be relevant enough to the subject matter, or just complement the content of the video. But it's something I've definitely moved away from as I've relied more and more on face cam, just being on camera, which is not something that I especially enjoy doing. But at the same time, I definitely understand why. Sorry, the internet's tanking again, which is predictable, but also frustrating. It's one of those things where I suddenly understand why so many people rely on that, especially here on YouTube, and why that approach can be successful. Because it's a very easy and cost-effective way to provide some kind of engaging visual throughout any given video that doesn't require a ton of thought. It doesn't require a ton of effort. And if the presenter, and I'm not really speaking of myself here, but in general, if you have a presenter who is really charismatic and photogenic and all that kind of stuff, then it's free. What do we say? It's an automatic appeal to the video that I think just really works, and it automatically gives viewers an opportunity to kind of connect with that presenter and engage in a more personal way with the content of the video. I also think that's been a big part of the massive push towards professional live streaming, the opposite of what we're doing right now. But yeah, that parasocial thing is a huge component of that. And yeah, even for just your standard video essay, or it doesn't even matter what the subject of the video is, video games, media, news, commentary, an interview, whatever it is, if you just have someone on camera talking to the viewer, it works automatically, and you don't have to come up with all the crazy creative editing. You can do that stuff on top of that sort of basic foundation. Wow, I couldn't even say that right. That basic foundation. But you don't have to. And there are tons of channels that have been very successful doing little more than that in terms of their editing and visual presentation. It's just someone talking. And if people like that person, that's it. That's kind of all they need to be really, really successful. So it's an interesting topic for me. And yeah, it's definitely been a component of trying to develop my own editing and style stuff here on the channel. Whether or not all the changes have been successful, they definitely haven't. But it's still entertaining and fun to mess around with those decisions. And video editing in general is just something that I happen to enjoy, which is something I found out sort of in my young adulthood as a whole. I'm not really a young adult anymore. But it was definitely a big discovery at some point. Like, oh, it's fun. The process of editing is fun, and it's something that I can easily do for, hours and hours at a time. So I've been working on the next couple of videos, and they have been more intensive in terms of the editing and trying to find applicable visuals and everything, on top of just sorting through clips from the entire length of the movie that I'm talking about, because thankfully I have digital copies of all the movies that I'm talking about. So yeah, it's no small feat to choose individual clips and like, this would fit best here. This is the most relevant imagery for the point that I'm mentioning at this time. Anyway, so the Hobbit video was kind of a lot. There was a lot going on with that one. And I tried to put more into that than the previous videos on 70s animation. Hopefully that came across. I haven't watched it since the day I put it up. But yeah, that one took quite a while to edit. And this next one too, I just think it's very important to have the editing be really on point. And it's tough, and it's a long process. And even just recording the piece to camera, I guess is what people would call it. The footage of me talking about the thing and reading through the script on camera, that's its own little project. I actually did that for the next video earlier today, and I don't know. It's tough to do well when you don't have like an actual studio setting, when you're just recording where you live. Especially because I happen to live in a busy part of town. There's tons of ambient noise pretty much at any time of day or night. And while that kind of stuff might not bother everybody who's watching the video, it definitely bothers me. So I tend to try to avoid that stuff as much as possible and do a bunch of takes. And again, not really enjoying being on camera. It's a lengthy process and not the most fun as compared to editing. But yeah, so I did a bunch of that earlier today. It was quite the project. And hopefully I'll have that finished editing a couple days from now. Although, as you might have gleaned from the title of this stream, we have Zelda to contend with. There's Zelda happening. And... Oh, hold on. Hold on. No. No. Sorry. Messing around with settings. Hopefully now everything's working as it should be. We'll see. Anyway, as you might have gleaned from the title of the stream, I'm waiting around. Yeah, waiting around for the new Zelda game. And I was just talking about it with somebody, with a friend of mine earlier today, and we both pre-ordered a physical copy, of course, because I think that's the smartest decision in terms of hanging on to a game for the long term. But at the same time, there's the inconvenience of, oh, I can't just download it right away. Gotta wait around for it to actually show up. But on top of that, with a game like this one in particular, where there's so much hype, there's so much attention given to ahead of time, and that's something I'll try to touch on in a little bit too, because the coverage of the game is a whole other issue for me. But anyway, when it's a big high profile release that you yourself are very much looking forward to, it's kind of weird because you are getting excited about it. You're getting hyped for it from all the coverage and other people posting videos and people posting little clips on social media and people streaming it live, which a ton of people have been doing already, of course. And if you don't happen to be in the mood for that game at that time, for whatever reason, it kind of throws a wrench in all the excitement, and it almost feels like you are compelled by the release schedule itself and by all the hype surrounding the game to feel really excited about it and to binge it all, basically, and play through the whole thing right away and sink a ton of hours into it. And honestly, I mean, I am excited for the game, of course. I'm really looking forward to trying it out for myself. I'm sure it is of quality. I'm not really too worried on that front. But at the same time, I mean, I don't know. It's not like I've been playing the first Breath of the Wild game a whole lot. And, you know, regardless of what you want to say about the sequel and its many differences, it will be a lot of the same vibe. It'll be a lot of the same tone, just slightly altered. Gameplay, kind of the same thing. A lot of overlap, new stuff as well. So I've been a little bit concerned, I guess. It's really not that serious, but, you know, a little bit concerned that I'm just not going to be really in the mood for this particular game at this particular moment in time. And that's not something that I can help. You know, this is something that we all feel with any type of media, with movie stuff, with shows, music, whatever. Just because you're not in the mood for a particular genre or type of media product at a given time, it doesn't mean you don't like it, but at the same time, there is this external pressure to be involved in some way and to really get into it at a particular moment in time. And that's not, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to click for me or not. I don't know if I'm really going to sink my teeth in. I don't know if I'm going to spend the entire weekend messing around with it. No idea at this point. So we'll see how things go. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I would compare it to, and maybe some people can relate to this, where this is especially a thing for me back in college when everybody was very into the new shows and movies and you had to watch the new stuff. So when Breaking Bad was the hot new thing, you had to watch it. Like, it didn't matter if it wasn't your thing. You had to watch it. You had to watch the new episodes within like a day or two of it being released. You had to be ready to talk about it. It was just this sort of unspoken expectation for everyone. And that pressure has continued on with certain things, I think. And I'm definitely the type of personality to not want that. I don't feel... I don't enjoy feeling like I'm being forced to watch a particular thing or consume a particular media product at a specific time. I want to come across it in my own time. I want to engage with it when I actually feel like it. And so, yeah, it's kind of the same vibe with this new Zelda game where like everybody's super into it right now. everybody's going to be talking about it and spoiling it in all these different ways. So if you're not on board, what do you do? Where where do you go from there? Do you just avoid engaging with other people who are talking about the game? Do you avoid the streams and avoid the videos? And this brings me to the coverage for the game, which in my opinion has been way too much. And it's rare that I feel this with movies as well, but I definitely have. The go-to example, I think, would be the marketing around The Force Awakens when they were starting up the Star Wars sequel series, and the marketing was absolutely relentless. And part of that marketing, of course, involved people going to early screenings and talking about it, you know, interviews with actors and all this kind of stuff. Just tons of sources from all different directions talking about the same thing. And it just felt like too much to me. And again, it kind of felt like I was being pressured to engage with it. I felt obligated to actually go and see the movie in the theater, which I did not. So, I don't know. I have been a little bit frustrated at some of the coverage that I've seen for Zelda so far, because even when something's really positive and someone's trying to get you excited for a thing, it's still marketing. Like, that's why, you know, specific reviewers get invited to preview events. That's why they you know, show off clips ahead of time. That's why people do live streams of new reveals and such. And I just never, I don't know, I feel like I can never avoid the sort of gross feeling of knowing that it's all marketing efforts and that people are willingly participating in the marketing of a product. I've just never really gotten past that on a personal level, I guess. So especially now that the embargo is up and that different outlets and reviewers are legally allowed to share their thoughts on the game and to show footage of whatever they want and tip videos and all that stuff, it already feels overwhelming. And I'm like, well, I haven't had it for the past 2 weeks. Like, I am in a very different place. I get that you guys are trying to capitalize on SEO and all that. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of being absolutely flooded with content about a particular product like that, especially when I'm already invested in it myself. Like, I want to have my own personal experience with that game. And so, yeah, I've been a little bit annoyed at some of the coverage that I've seen so far and breakdown videos and stuff like that. Even Nintendo was holding a live Treehouse event the other day, which just not the other day, it was yesterday. I think it was yesterday evening. And I was just like why? Like, who who are you trying to convince, and who wants to see more of this? Like, we all already bought it. We pre-ordered the game, whatever. We had decided to buy the product. We don't need more convincing. So I get a little bit confused at that marketing approach. I think it's just become a default for a lot of big, hypey games, and I'm just not a fan. Regardless, still very interested, of course. I'll still have that experience, you know, my own experience with it. But yeah, not my favorite thing. Okay, yeah, it looks like the internet's collapsing again. Well, I expected that to happen. But that's okay. This was a nice little experiment. I do want to get back to streaming on a regular basis, so I'll try to do that. Go back to the weekly schedule, basically. I might have to change a little bit because I am moving on to a new job, but I'll let you know. I'll do a community post or something to let you know about, you know, the actual dates and times that I'll stick with from now on. But yeah, this is good practice. And I'm glad all the equipment worked out, except for the internet, which is beyond my control. But that's all for now. Yeah, thanks for stopping by. Have a great weekend, and if you're playing the game as well, hope you enjoy it. All right, goodbye.